Good day, subscribers. Today is episode 2 of semester 5, CS6300 Software Development Process Final Review. If you'd like to see the previous episode before watching this one, click the banner in the upper right hand corner. In the previous episode, we took a look at what I thought of the program so far now that I'm halfway through. We looked at a lot of different aspects of the program, including what I feel like I've learned, what I feel like I've grown, the pros and the cons of the program, and would I do it again if I could go back. As always, I want to thank you guys for coming along with me while I make these videos. I love making these videos and getting comments on them and letting me know that I'm really helping you guys out by making them. This video's comic is about the software development process, since that's the subject of this video. So now let's jump in. CS6300 Software Development Process. So what is this class about? So really this covers 3 main subjects. First of all, working with software and working with testing software. And this is really shown in the work that we do in Java through IntelliJ and Android apps through the Android Studio. Second, this class really dives into working in teams, which I thought was a lot of fun and really a great learning experience. This is really the first class where I've had any team projects, and it really helped me learn how to work in software teams. And then third, learning the software development process. So a lot of the lectures in this course cover this, but also working with Git and Git Bash helped me better understand how a software team communicates with itself. Now that we've covered what makes up this class, let's look at the grading for it. So the main portion of the grade comes from the assignments, and there are a total of 5 of them. There's assignment 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, as well as a group project and an individual project. This in total makes up almost the entirety of the grade, with the only other 3% coming from a participation grade, which comes down to your activity on Piazza. One thing to look at and definitely mention about this grading system is, as you can tell, there's not really a grade for quizzes or exams. There's a participation grade which has to do with quizzes, but those are lecture quizzes, not quizzes that we would normally take on Canvas or ProctorTrack. So one big plus of this class is there are no exams, which really made the class low stress. And a big shout out to the instructors for that. So now looking at each one of the assignments, we'll start off with assignment 2. The reason I'm going to start off with assignment 2 rather than assignment 1 is assignment 1 was simply just a quiz on Canvas. The reason I put it in quotations is because it wasn't a quiz that's graded, that you're going to have to know certain information on. It just was a quiz basically asking you how comfortable you are with Java, how comfortable you are with working with Git and other kind of software processes. And this was so when teams were created for the group project later, each team had about a decent amount of skill on it and a decent amount of people who didn't know so much on it. That way there wasn't one team that was super overpowered and one team who basically had nobody who knew what they were doing. So that first assignment, even though they give you a full week to do it, doesn't really take the full week, and you can basically complete it in under 30 minutes. So that's why I'm not talking about it. Looking at assignment 2 has to do with setting up a Git repo on GitHub. And to do this, you use Git Bash. In this assignment, you're given a step-by-step instruction on exactly what you're supposed to do and almost exactly what you're supposed to type in. They're very strict in the grading of this, meaning every single action that you take in Git needs to be exactly right, but with that said, the instructions are almost step-by-step, so it's a fairly easy assignment to complete. In terms of difficulty, I would say it's easy. It really doesn't take a lot of thinking. You can almost do it while doing another thing, as long as you have some basic understanding of Git. I really didn't going into this assignment, so this is coming from somebody who previously really didn't know how to use Git. And the assignment, at longest, would take you about 2 hours, and that's assuming that you mess up somewhere and have to start over. If you kind of know what you're doing, or you really take your time with it, you could probably finish it in under an hour. So assignment 3 is really the first assignment where we start doing coding. And in this class, all coding is done in Java. This is really interesting because in most of the other classes I've taken, and actually all of the other classes that I've taken, coding has been the main subject matter of each assignment every single time. In the first class I took, computational photography, there were a few assignments that weren't as coding heavy and had a little bit to do with pictures, but for the most part, the statement is true. And in this class, a decent amount of the assignments had to do with something other than just programming. And that's because this class focuses on the software development process and not just strictly on coding. But for this assignment, assignment 3, it's just a basic Java code. If you really have any understanding of Java, this should be more than a breeze for you. I really didn't know Java at all. I knew Python decently well, but I really had no understanding of Java, and I was able to complete this assignment decently quickly, I would say under 3 hours. So I rank this assignment again as easy, and for time commitment under 3 hours. You really only have to do a couple of things. You have to complete a MyCustomString class that's given to you with some basic functionality, and if you understand any type of language, it really shouldn't be that hard. And then you have to complete writing a couple of tests for that code, which again is not difficult at all. If you've got any experience in another language and you basically understand how to Google what you're looking for in terms of programming, this assignment shouldn't be a problem. Again, assignment 4 is another one of those basic coding assignments. At this portion in the class, the teacher's just trying to make sure that each student knows the commitment of knowledge that they're going to need to have to go into this class. So you should have some understanding of Java and some understanding of Android Studios. I went into this class really not have used either of those programs before, and I was able to do very well. So if you have a good understanding of really any programming language, I don't think you'll have trouble in this class. But assignment 4 is based around a basic Java app in Android Studio. It's a simple encryption app that allows the user to input a string and then outputs the encrypted string. This assignment I would rank as a medium difficulty. Not that it was particularly hard, but just that Android Studio, for somebody who's never used it before, can have a couple of tricks that you just need to do some Googling. It's not a terribly hard assignment. It really only takes 3 to 3.5 hours, but it might be a little bit frustrating for somebody who hasn't used Android Studio before. With that said, like I've said a couple of times in this video, I had not used really Java before, IntelliJ, or Android Studio, and I was able to get through this class without too much stress. So even if you just have a good understanding of a different programming language, these assignments shouldn't be too hard for you. Lastly, assignment 5, which is the last of the assignments for this class, is a really easy assignment. This class comes after the group project. So the way the course actually goes is you have assignment 1, assignment 2, assignment 3, assignment 4, then you go into the group project, which has a couple of deliverables. Then, after the group project, you go back to assignment 5, and then lastly into the individual project, which we'll talk about in a bit. Assignment 5 is based around testing and coverage for testing. So this all links up with where you are in the lecture material while going through this class, and again, it's just really not a hard assignment. You're given Java code and then asked to complete a couple of statements and create a couple of tests. This assignment, again, I would rank as a pretty easy assignment in terms of difficulty and really not super time consuming. I said about 2 hours, and that's if you really need to go back into the lectures, re-watch them, and make sure you're getting everything right. Overall, all the assignments in this course were very manageable. The only other big note to make on this assignment is that its weight for this assignment is 20%. Compared to the other assignments, this is a big weight, and it's almost the same as the group project or the individual project. So even though this assignment is easy and doesn't take a ton of coding commitment, make sure you get it right because it is worth a large part of your grade. So now that we've looked at each assignment, let's take a look at the projects that'll make up the bulk of the work in this class. The first project is the group project, and this project comes in right after assignment 4. So at this point, you've got a little bit of understanding of Git and Git Bash, a little bit of understanding of your Java requirement, and a little bit of understanding of your Android Studio requirement. In this project, the group, which was made up of 4 students, including me, were asked to develop, build, and test an Android application that would help another student compare different job offers he got. Now the first thing to look at for this group project is the way it's graded. There's a 10% grade that comes from collaboration and a 15% grade that comes from group project. So this makes up a total of 25%, which means this is a big deal for your grade. The 15% comes from how well did you actually create the project. Does your app work? Are the tests good? Was your development for the app actually accurate for what you built? The 10% of the grade that comes from collaboration basically comes from, at the end, after the project is completed, you will fill out a survey that just says how much did each group member actually contribute to the group. As long as your group works together and you contribute fine to your group, you'll get the full 10% for this. This project is made up of 4 deliverables: a UML Design Document, a project plan, use case model, design document, and test plan, a beta version of the app, and then lastly, the final version of the app as well as app testing. So now let's look at each one of these deliverables individually. The first deliverable for this project is the UML Design Document. This document is supposed to show your group's idea for how you're going to create the classes that will eventually turn into this app. The point of this document is to get everybody on your team kind of on the same page, so when you move into the actual design of the app, you're able to do it together instead of getting in each other's way. This document goes right along with what you'll be learning in the lecture, and probably the hardest part of completing this part of the assignment is just learning how to work together in a group. Like I said, this class is the first one that really works with group projects, and so learning how to communicate with your team, with people from all over the country or possibly even all over the world, can be a little bit difficult and does drag out how long this assignment takes. If you were to do this assignment alone, I would guess you could probably finish it in half the time it takes with a group. And that just has to do with how difficult it can be to get everybody to work in a team and to communicate with each other. As a group project, this is probably a medium difficulty and about a 4-hour time commitment. So again, really not bad for an assignment. The second deliverable will be a project plan, use case model, design document, and test plan. And this deliverable is really, in my opinion, the easiest deliverable out of the whole group project. The reason for this is at this point, you've kind of met your group and you have a little bit of understanding of everybody's skills and such. And funny enough, there's 4 people in the group and there's really 4 documents to do. So what my group did is we split this assignment up. I took the project plan and each other member took a different document that they had to complete. As you can see, I have a couple pictures of the use case model we made as well as the design document that was made. This deliverable for the assignment really didn't take long at all. I would say it was an easy assignment and it took at most 1 hour. It was a really easy thing to fill out. And it was a nice break right in the middle of the course. The third deliverable for this project is, in my opinion, the hardest deliverable out of all of them. But with that said, I would still only rank it as a medium difficulty in terms of other assignments that I've had in different classes. In this deliverable, you're going to be expected to create a beta version of the app. Like I've said before, I really came in with very little knowledge of Java and very little knowledge of Android Studio. But I was still able to work with my team and create a beta version of the app that actually worked decently well. Overall in this project, my group did very well in terms of the grade and we were able to complete it. But this portion of the project was probably the biggest time commitment out of any assignment in this class. I would say it took about 8 hours of coding. It really was a decent amount of coding for this single deliverable, but of course that 8 hours is going to depend on how much work you're taking on as compared to how much work different members of your group are taking on. As you can see, I've taken a couple screenshots of what the beta version of our app does. On the left side, you can see the home screen, which gives 4 individual buttons that the user can use to interface with the other screens. And on the right side, you can see a comparative screen where we're comparing 2 job offers that were selected in a previous UI. And lastly, deliverable 4, the last deliverable for this group project, is going to be a final build of the app as well as testing for the build. So this deliverable is really going to depend on how much work you did in deliverable 3, which was a beta version of the app. If you made a really good beta version and you just have some minor corrections to make, this deliverable is going to be very easy overall. but if your beta version had a lot of bugs, this deliverable might take you a little bit longer. Overall, I would say this deliverable was a medium difficulty and probably took about 7 hours throughout the group. For my group, I did a lot of work on deliverable 3, and on deliverable 4, I took a more background approach. Lastly, let's take a look at the individual project. The individual project is the last assignment that you'll have for this course. So it was assignment 1, 2, 3, 4, group project, assignment 5, and then lastly, the individual project. The individual project that we were given had 3 deliverables. The first deliverable was to create a project testing structure along with project tests. The second deliverable was to revise these project tests and kind of go over them and then clean them up. And then lastly, it was to build the actual file processing class, which was what this whole project was centered around. So now, let's take a look at each one of these deliverables. The first deliverable for this project deals with designing and then building the actual tests that you'll run for the final program. For this deliverable, Georgia Tech gives you an executable program called the TSL generator. The TSL generator is a software that allows you to write a text document that has different requirements for the tests. As you can see, my text document had things like, does the file exist, the file that you're going to input? How many lines does the file contain? Does it contain 0 lines, 1 line, or more than 1 line? And it lets you create these different requirements and then run the TSL generator on your text document, and that will build a set of tests. And you can actually see a set of tests in the picture to the side. That's just one test. And this one test has things like, in this test, the file is present, the number of lines are greater than 1, and different requirements like that. With this, you're then able to take those design tests that were created by the TSL generator and then build those actual tests in Java using IntelliJ. And for the first deliverable for the project, that's what you're submitting. The second deliverable for this project is kind of like the fourth deliverable for the group project. It's going to depend a lot on how well you did on the previous deliverable. So for me, the deliverable that I had for deliverable 1, which was a set of tests written in Java, were pretty complete and only had a few things wrong with them, so this deliverable was extremely easy for me. I changed a couple of the expected results I was thinking I was going to get for the test, and then I was able to pass with 100% success. So this deliverable is really easy if you did deliverable 1 correctly. Lastly, the final deliverable, deliverable 3 for this project, is to actually design the file processor class. So here, you're supposed to make a new class in IntelliJ in the folder and create the file processor class. For my project, the file processor class was supposed to take certain OPT flags like a -L or a -S and then modify the given file depending on which OPT flags it was given. For me, this deliverable was a medium difficulty and took about 5 hours of coding. It wasn't the easiest thing to do, it wasn't the hardest thing to do, but it was certainly manageable, just like all of the other assignments in this class have been. So now we've looked at all of the different assignments for this class, we've looked at the grading for this class, and kind of what the whole class is about. So now let's take a look at the pros and the cons. And for this class, I really do have a lot more pros than I do cons. The lecture material for this class is dynamic, and when I say dynamic, what I mean is it doesn't focus super deeply on any single subject matter. It does like to do a little bit on this subject matter and then a little bit on that other subject matter. And like I've said before in this video, a lot of the subject in this course doesn't have to do specifically with programming. It has to do with the software development process, which compared to other classes is really an interesting break because it kind of lets your mind take a step back from just pure programming and actually learn about software and software development. The second pro is this class doesn't have any exams. And so if that's something that you get stressed about or something that you really feel is hard for you, this class is a great break from that. It has no exams. Like I said, it has 5 assignments, a group project and an individual project, but the lack of exams really does lower the stress of this class. Third, the homeworks and the projects are very manageable. This class is just a really good class if you need to take a little bit of a step back from the program, if you feel very overwhelmed and you need a little bit lighter of a semester, Or if you were looking for a class that's a good pairing class, this class is a great class to pair. And then fourth, some of the homeworks and the projects have instant grades through Gradescope. And when I say instant grades, what I mean is you submit your code to Gradescope and it immediately grades it right there and lets you know how you're doing. And this is super helpful because along with being able to submit your homework multiple times, you can kind of throughout the week improve little by little until you're in a grade range where you're comfortable. Now, even though there are a lot of pros for this class, there are just a few cons. The first con is that it's a minimal to moderate amount of new learning. What I mean by that is, like I've said, the class doesn't focus specifically on a certain type of coding. It really has to do more with the software development process. So if you have any kind of back knowledge of that process, if you've worked in a software group, or if you've just watched a couple of YouTube videos or done a little bit of work yourself, some of the learning in this class might be stuff that you already know. There's the benefit of that making the class a little bit easier if you just need a little bit of a break, but the amount of learning in this class I would say is less than if you compare it to like machine learning for trading or other classes. And then secondly, sometimes the assignments can be a little bit unclear as to what they're asking. Some of the assignments are written very well and you know exactly what they're asking for and you can jump right in, but at the same time there were other assignments where I would have a little bit of trouble understanding exactly what they wanted me to do, and it would usually take me 1 or 2 days along with Piazza posts and reading other people's posts to figure out what they were expecting and what they wanted from my portion of the code. And this was true a little bit more with the individual project than anything else, but just some of the assignments are written really well and some of them take a little bit of work to get there. And that can be frustrating because you're in the class to really learn the material, not to try to figure out what the instructor is trying to get you to do. So, who should take this course? Well, one, students who need a little bit of an easier semester. If you plan on doing other things in a certain time period, or you need a class to pair with a secondary class, this class is a great choice for you. Second, students who have little to no experience in Java. I really wouldn't recommend this class for students who have a good understanding of Java. I think it's just going to be too easy for you. But if you have a good understanding of a different programming language, like me, I understand Python and I've written in Python and that's really my main language, but you want to learn a little bit about Java and how to write in Java and how to understand Java, then this is a great class for you. And then lastly, students who want to learn the software development process. And this is probably the biggest category in my opinion, and definitely the one that fits me the best. As I've said in previous videos, my background is in mechanical engineering, and so taking this course and just better understanding how software development works and how working in software teams works was super helpful to me. And one of the biggest gains for me was learning how to use Git and Git Bash. So lastly, would I take this course again? And for me, it was a big yes. Like I've said, this course, it really depends on who you are. If you have a good understanding of Java, I wouldn't recommend this course. But as somebody who really didn't have a good understanding of Java, came from a different background, and was looking for a semester that was a little bit less pressure, this was just about the perfect course. Again, I'd love to thank the instructors for this course, along with the TAs. You really made this course easy to take and really low pressure. This course, the TAs are really responsive, and so is the instructor, so thank you guys for all of the work you've done. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. And if you have any questions on this video, leave a comment in the comment section. Thanks, and subscribe.